Welcome to Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo, brought to you by Holy Chuck Burgers. Our business is burgers.
Good morning, Katarina Witt. There's no such thing as bad boys, only boys with bad hair.
Sponsored by Maxwell's Clothiers, your bespoke tailor since 1961. And now, your host of Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo, Chuck Basti. All right, we're back. This is Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo. I'm Cam LaRock, the producer. And of course, Chuck Basti, the host, is here with us too. Chuck, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm beaming from ear to ear today because I have a wonderful guest, one of my most favorite human beings on the face of the planet. His name is James MacNeil. And you might have seen him online in one of the many programs he has as well. Just empowering people, just being one of the most amazing human beings out there, sharing love and wisdom as well. And I'm really excited about having James on the show today to really give people a new view if they're stuck, or how to accelerate that view with momentum as well. And James is the guy that's going to do that.
Yeah, Chuck, I'm really excited too. I've said it before, but I feel like James might make my job a little bit difficult, not because he's a difficult person, but because I feel like he's going to have such great things to say that I'm going to forget to do my job here and there. And I'll be caught up as a viewer and forget that I'm here to get the job done, right? So I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
And that's a hashtag real thing, because honestly, he's going to give you so many great nuggets of wisdom as well, that I really want the audience to take away, one thing that works for you today. Again, like, don't take what works for us, but if you find one thing that James says and shares as well, please acknowledge him for that as well. But like, take the one thing that works for you and just move forward with that as well, because it really is sharing is caring.
Yeah, Chuck, I mean, I know you love to use some of his quotes, and I feel like after today, I'm going to be using some of his quotes as well.
I'm one of the biggest James MacNeil thieves of all time, because like, I use his stuff every single day. I acknowledge
you do always credit him, though. I do
credit him, because he's always said, it's okay from taking from over here as long as you give back to over here, right? So I always do that as well. And like I said, he just gives me so much content. And the one thing I love about James the most is, like, him and I can agree to disagree on everything. Like, literally everything. He could be on this side or that side, and we never have a shitty conversation or something where we get upset or there's just none of that, because he's taught me the ability to have dialogue or discourse where you can agree. And we're going to get back to how we do that as well. But I think everybody on the face of the planet can benefit from, one of the distinctions we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I'm excited just to be sitting like this, just listening. And
do
then
your job, young Skywalker. Just make sure you don't get caught up in James isms, and make sure you make him look cool.
Yeah, that private chat will probably be blowing up with, Cam, do your job. Come on.
Stay on point. Yeah. All right, let's bring up my friend James MacNeil.
Let's do it.
There he is, one of the most wonderful human beings on the face of the planet, James.
I tell you what, you put a lot of pressure on me, my friend. I feel like, man, I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. This is quite the build-up.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm not even worried, because I know that you can pivot. This is not your first rodeo. You've been doing this since you've been 2. Mentally. Yeah. So, but we're going to get into your story as well. But before we get to that point, there, I want to say welcome to the show. And I want to introduce people to James MacNeil as well, because, like I said on the very start of the show, James is one of the most beautiful people that I'll ever meet in my entire life. He's got a wonderful life story that is very, very connectable to people, because he just didn't come from silver spoon, and he's worked for everything that he's actually had to learn in this lifetime. And he's taken everything that he's had to go through and worked through all that. And I always say there's heroes in life, James. Like, there's people who can go through trauma, and it's everything that they can do just to recover from the trauma and stay healthy. Then there's people that can recover from trauma and get their lives back on track. And then there's people like you who can only recover from the trauma, get themselves squared away, but really lead and empower others with your past of like hardships to have them get liberation and freedom and peace of mind in their lives. And that takes a special kind of person. So that to me makes you my hero.
Oh my goodness. Why, thank you, my friend. You're far kinder to me than I'm accustomed, and I really do appreciate you. You are a unique and cool guy, and I remember when, and it seems like you've gracefully forgotten, but there was a season when we were just getting to know each other, and I was in a huge stress pressure cooker, and I was not the kind version of James, and you just seem to forget and forgive, and here we are as great friends. So I thank you. I appreciate you. You're the real deal and a good guy, and I'm honored to be on your show. So thank you, Chuck.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on as well, because I think you just have so much good to give people. And I think we live in a really testy world these days where it's not always readily available. But like, thank God for the internet and this content get out there. And I truly feel that this content's going to find people when they're ready to receive that as well. I really truly believe in that. And I'm excited to get started. You ready to go?
Jump in. Let's rock.
So I want to give you a little bit of background, your background to the audience as well.
Sure.
So I thought I'd just start with you just sharing a little bit about yourself as well. So if someone hasn't heard of James MacNeil, they know who you are.
Yeah, first, if you've never heard of me before, I forgive you. So I'm from Toronto. My family's from Nova Scotia. The first two kids were born there, the second two in Toronto. So I'm the youngest of four, and yeah, we had a challenging childhood. I could not speak in sentences until I was 9 years old with the help of a special tutor. We moved 5 times before I was 5. And when I was around 3 at one of the apartments we lived in, I had an accident, fell off the slide, like a sliding board, you know. A kid pushed me off, actually. And the back then, you know, safety wasn't first. So they built the entire playground on concrete. So I fell probably 7 feet down on my head. Fractured my skull, broke my collarbone, a bunch of other things. I had a 50-50 chance of survival, and then a lower chance of being able to speak, and a very low chance to avoid brain damage. And the jury's still out as to the results of that injury. But I couldn't. I have ADHD. I have complex PTSD, dyslexia, OCD, and some other things. And so I started out, you know, not doing perfectly well. Again, I learned to speak in sentences when I was 9, learned to read when I was 21. I'll summarize. As a child, I was bullied, beaten, battered, broken, choked, strangled, hung, and drowned. I survived. I couldn't make a friend to save my life, but the kids, they put up with me because I was a good athlete. So, you know, much like you, sports was a part of my life. And so I was the guy that would have scored on you in hockey. So I was a goal scorer. I was a fast runner, those kinds of things. So I was valuable on a team, but otherwise I had great difficulty. And I had teachers punch me in the face in front of the class, swear that they'd fail me no matter what I actually got on the exams. I just had challenges with humanity. I had challenges with people. I had challenges with life. I didn't understand how everyone else seemed to get along and everyone else seemed to have an easier time of it. And so what that did for me is it created an immense curiosity and fascination in how the world works, how do things work, how do people communicate, how do people manage relationships, how to become likable, that kind of thing. And then that provoked me. So by the time I was suicidal as a teenager, and there was a point in my life when I was living in Florida, because I was kind of homeless-ish. I had 23 residences in 24 months in Florida. And at one point I was profoundly suicidally depressed. I would have been dead or in prison within 6 months, except for a spiritual encounter occurred. And that was the beginning of the life that I now live. So how's that for a summary?
Yeah, that'll work. Like that's a good start. And I've heard this and we're laughing about it right now because we've been friends for over 10 years, but I've heard this before, but I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing along the lines that you.
But you got to admit it. You liked the brain damage one. You were entertained. You were laughing. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I identify with that because, like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, yeah. But the thing is, you've made it. Like that's the most. Like I said at the start of the show, like you've gone through all that. It would have just been like a miracle if you just would have survived and not had any friends and just like literally took all your miseries and went to a bottle or drank it or
Yeah.
or did some sort of coping mechanism. But like you said, your intense curiosity for self-improvement, development, and relationships, that you just became, this guru of knowledge of how to connect to people. And I've sat through dozens of your talks or seminars or workshops, and every single one of them, I've always come away with something that was really profound to me. And it's so effortless for you to share it, and what you had to go through to learn that. It was like you paid up front for everything that you had to do emotionally, physically, spiritually, to learn all that. Some people get it on the back end, but you paid up front for that as well, and now you're just sharing it because it's the right thing to do. And again, that's a miracle.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, and I'm not sure, Chuck, if anyone's journey is better or worse, easier or tougher. I think they're just different. So, the people I feel bad for, the people who had perfect childhoods, right? They had the perfect happy family, and mommy and daddy loved them, and patted their head and helped them with their homework and wiped their nose and took them to school, and they were always dressed right, and they were popular, and oh, come on, guys, let's go have fun now. Let's go to camp. Let's go to the country club. And I just think, how do these people learn how to recover, how to survive, how to strive, how to put up with the pain? Like, I was talking to a woman who's a psychiatrist, and she's a friend of mine. I wasn't speaking to her in her professional capacity, but I was speaking with her, and we just got into a psychological conversation. I said, I think I realized something a bit twisted. She said, what's that? I said, I think one of my strategies in life was I can out-pain anyone.
Wow.
So if I was in a fight, I don't have to be bigger, stronger, or faster. But if you don't kill me, we're not done. And at some point, you're going to say, this isn't worth it. And that's when I win. And that was the way it was in life and business and fights and anything. It's like, if I'm not dead, the game is still on. And so most people cave, they quit, they run away, they do that. And I think, well, that's because they had an easier time. And some of us don't buy the lie that life is fair. It's never been fair for anyone. It's never been fair. The word should be stricken from the language, because I think it's caused immense harm. Nothing is fair. The question is it worth it? Life isn't fair, but is it worth it? Being a leader, there's nothing more unfair than leadership. Everyone gets to steal from you, rob from you, cheat you, fail at their jobs, demand their paychecks, and then tell everyone you're evil. Clients can turn against you and take the money. It doesn't matter how good you are as a leader. You are the target, and everyone feels justified because you're supposedly powerful and nothing hurts you, which is so not true. Some of us are very sensitive, but fair is a very dangerous word. And fortunately for me, I figured out early on, nothing's fair. It's never been fair. It never will be fair. And I think that's a benefit, frankly, even though it may have been acquired in an uncomfortable way. What a blessing to know life ain't fair. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, because I think I have this story that Gen Z kids just have that whole thing that everything has been handed to them, as opposed to me having to go to a card catalog at a library, not having Google as a search engine, having to handwrite assignments. And now everything is readily available for everybody online. They can get whatever they want, access it all. And it just comes instantaneously. I can be in the middle of nowhere, use my phone, and it sends a satellite up to a signal up to a satellite in the sky revolving around, beams the information down in the palm of my hand. So it's always come very fast and easy. But like I always say, especially in the hockey world, you're going to hit, obstacles up front. And if you don't have that muscle of perseverance, and it is a muscle that you're going to be developing, that, like, how do you push through when things get tough, or as you say, life isn't fair? Because life is going to hit you in the face, and it's not going to care how you react. Only your results will care how you react. So how do you stay in state and be able to recalibrate in order to move forward when life isn't fair, and still achieve what you want to achieve?
Well, let's go to the hockey, right? Because a lot of the people who watch your show are involved in hockey.
Yeah.
One of the things I figured out was, if I let injustice get to me, I lose. So playing the game, guys would slash me, trip me, punch me in the face. They would do all kinds of things to try and stop me because I was a goal scorer. And I was really awkward. So it made the other team look bad because I looked like I shouldn't be on the ice at all. I was like, but if you gave me the puck inside the blue line, go ahead and get the goal, get the person to turn the score. I had an ability. I'd bounce it off someone's head, off their butt. It didn't matter. I'd put the puck in the net. And so the number of injustices done to me, right? I had virtually every part of my body wounded. I was in the ER almost every single week. They memorized my OHIP number, Ontario Health Insurance Policy number, at ER. I'm not kidding. I was there that often. So injustice was being done to me all the time on the hockey rink, and the refs wouldn't see. But what they always saw was my retaliation. So if I retaliated, I got caught every time. But they got away with moida. And so what I realized is if I let that get to me, I would lose the zone. If I lost the zone, I wasn't supernatural anymore. So it's like, if you look at the top players who stay there, like Sidney Crosby's and the Wayne Gretzky's, or whomever you want to choose, they just don't care that it's unjust. They just find a way to win. Michael Jordan, right? The abuse he took in basketball, and he's like, so I'm gonna win. So you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do, and I'm going to win. And you know what I'm gonna remember? And you know what you're gonna remember? I won. And so it's like nothing can shake my focus on my objective. Justice, injustice, unfair, it's irrelevant. The question is, am I going to stay and win? And those who do. And so, yeah, it's a matter of nothing else matters but the goal, whatever the goal is, whatever is important, whatever is more important than your mood, let it win.
So I always say that it's easy to actually hear this. It's really hard to employ it. Like it's easy, if you're on the ice and guys aren't slashing you or tripping you, or, you get hauled down in front of a ref and there's no call and your reaction is everything. And in theory, I know I should, before I shit all over myself, I should keep myself in states. And yet there's that little 8-year-old child on my shoulder that's, Chucky in a former life that's been bullied on a playground, that wants to scream out in that one moment. You got screwed. This ref hates you. You look bad. Everybody saw that. And then watch Chucky just unleash napalm.
Yeah.
Right? And that's hurt me my entire life because I was unable to control that Chucky doll on my shoulder.
Well, there you go. Well, that's EQ, right? So EQ is the ability to be mindful of my emotions. So emotional awareness. Number 2 is emotional management. 3rd is social awareness. And 4th is relationship management. And so what it is I'm losing my stuff. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I feel like crying. I feel like running away. I feel like, punching this. I feel like doing that. And so that's awareness. That's not the end of the game. That's the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Number 2 is, how do I harness this into more goals so I can humiliate the shite out of them? I want them to crawl into the parking lot humiliated. And the way that works is I funnel this energy into winning, not whining. And so I'm going to find a way to harness all of this and put it into something productive. And when it comes to I'm not talking about in business and life and misbehaving. I'm just saying, in sports, the game is we both give our best to win, right? So it's not wrong for me to quote unquote beat them. It's not wrong for me to score on them because that's the game we signed up to. And so, so just say, I'm going to take all of this energy and focus on something that's good for me. So it's not about what's right or what's fair. It's what's good for me. And what's good for me is winning, focusing, holding my stuff together. And I matter more, and my goals matter more than justice to them. Let God take care of them. Let the ref take care of them. Let the cops take care of them. Let someone else take care of them. Let a thug on my team take care of them. I'm scoring the goal. And I'm putting all my energy into what I believe is most productive for me, right? It's like, what's best for me?
Yeah.
And when I found out that every time I retaliated, I got the penalty, I'm like, well, I got to stop that. I'm not good at being bad. I'm good at scoring. Stay in my lane.
So you mentioned there's 4, and I heard you tail off at the second one. Let's go over 3 and 4 then. So like, how do you actually maintain state?
Oh, good. Well, how to maintain state is, number one, to challenge the perception that's got me hooked. So if someone slashes you, let's just say in hockey, someone slashes you, your perception is they're mean, they're bad, I'm a victim, they don't respect me, this is unjust, where's my mommy, someone should protect me. Okay, fine. Now, that belief is not serving you. And so to change your mood, you change your perception. And the perception is, he's scared to death of me, because if this leg works, he's dead. He knows that he cannot catch me. He cannot stop me. He knows that I am here to humiliate him and his team. And that slash is a compliment, and he's right. Now that changes your mood. So it's the perception you've attached to the moment. So the slash is a slash. The question is, have you turned it into fuel, or have you turned it into failure? And so you can simply change the meaning of it to change your response. Now you're the master of you, because life is never going to get fair in no level, no age, no stage, no business, no venture. Nothing is ever going to be fair. So if we don't learn to manage our perceptions, our interpretations, and our beliefs, we have not mastered self. And if you do not master self, all is lost. So it starts with the first two of self-awareness, self-control. Second is social awareness. So you assess your competitor. You say, okay, they're emotional, they're not emotional, they're this, they're that. You assess them, read the environment. And then relationship management in the civilized world is how to now adapt and get along with people. But in competitive EQ, it's use the first three to exploit them on the fourth, because it's competition, it's fair play, we've agreed. Yeah. So it's, how do I mess with their minds so they can't think anymore, then they want it to end, and then I give them their gift. So break them mentally by managing you. And when someone gives you their best and you just smile back, they're like, well, I don't know how to manage that, right? It's like, shoot, he took my best and smiled at me. Yeah. Now you're beginning to crumble, right? Because any kind of bad behavior, manipulation, domination, and control all come from weakness. If a person was secure, they would respectfully manage, right? And if they're not doing that, they are revealing their weaknesses. And once I can assess that in a competition, I can then exploit that. All I have to do is now get inside their head. Yeah. But that's competition. That's not in life. In life, we want to use that fourth quadrant to bridge gaps and to build a safe environment where people can learn and grow together and have a safe place. But in competition, it's in that fourth quadrant that we say, I get me, I control me. I get you, I manipulate the tar out of you until I break you mentally. And in all sports, the brain goes before the body. Yeah. And so that's the game in competitive EQ.
I remember, I'll take it out of hockey and use another game as well, but I got a lot of value out of this one. I used to play a lot of poker, and and if you're able to, and what I found is in hockey, I always had a better gift in hockey, right? And so it worked until it didn't, right? But I don't think I was ever at a spot where I was ever on a piece of ice where I wasn't out of place. I wouldn't have played my best games at times, or been, shut down by pros at the same time. But at the same time, I deserved to be on the ice. Poker, I didn't deserve to be there until I actually learned it. And what I found out is I was giving away too much information at the table. Too many tells. Yeah. And what I found out is the more I could actually be, like you said, secure, come from a place of calm, not go on tilt, because I'd just be giving away my money. And if I paid for it in hockey with energy or with ability, what I paid for it at the poker table was physical money. And so I realized really fast, really early on, that the metaphor for me was like, you're not just giving away your energy, you're giving away your livelihood, you're giving away money, because you can't control your emotions. This is costing you. And it showed up everywhere in my life. It showed up in hockey, it showed up in poker, but it was just indicative of what I had to learn it was. And then when I got to the point where I was able to, like you said, see a guy spot his tells and then be able to say, oh, wow, hey, slow down, guy. And you start saying some things to him that would trigger him. And then he would just give you all of his money at the table. But that was just really indicative. And I think if you look at it, there's some people out there who, and they're very rare, like yourself, who have that mastery because you've done that work. You've paid for it all up front. You've spent decades working on it. And then there's people out there that don't know how to do it and they don't know where to start. So I thought maybe we start for these people who are looking for answers, like how do they start, getting the control of their emotions and being able to have these conversations without that Chucky doll on their shoulder, like lashing out at people and ruining their relationships and self-sabotaging.
Yeah. So I promise I will, but I want to first humiliate myself with a Vegas gambling story. Can I do that?
Yeah,
No, I really want people to be entertained. I want you to know what a geek I am. Will that cheer you up?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't gamble. I don't play. I don't do any of the gambling stuff. I don't, whatever. So we're in Vegas because I do speaking, right? So I speak at gigs all over the world and yada, yada, yada. So I'm there with my registrar, a guy who would travel with me and he would manage the room while I was on stage. And this wonderful woman who's almost famous, but I'll leave her name out of it. She said, "Gents, I'm going to take you out on the town." So we agree. We go out on the town. So she says, "I'm going to bring you to the oldest casino in Las Vegas, like one of the absolute original buildings, right?" And we thought that was interesting, so we went there. And then they want to play blackjack, 21. And I thought, well, how hard is that? You count to 21. I'm smart. So we sat at the table. Now we have a few problems. Number one, they gave me free alcohol. Now right there, that's not good for little Jimmy.
Yeah.
Second, and it was good stuff. Second, the servers were walking around with very little clothing on. I don't know how else to put it, but their uniforms were approved by every hot-blooded male on earth. And so there's these beautiful, nearly naked women walking around, and there's alcohol in my system. So I think you can see where I'm going.
And you have ADHD. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have ADHD. So in a casino, you've got all the bells and whistles, all the sounds and the music and the people and this, and then the person's doing the thing, and there's all the. So I'm trying to count. I'm trying to count everyone's hand and check out the girl and check on my drink, and I could not focus to save my life. Apparently, Chuck,
Shocking.
I don't know how to count to 21. I don't know how to count to 21.
Which is the
I found
trick.
that.
Which is the trick.
I just so my buddy, he was one of those. He's a real classic. So he shows up and says, "I forgot my wallet." That's like I forgot. Anyway, so I spot him $20. The girl rolls out 5 $100 bills and drops them on the table. She's here to play. So he gets $20. I get $20. And so mine is gone and he's got a stack. So he gives me $20. I'm like, all right, I got my money back. Blow it. His stack is bigger. He gives me another 20. He's feeding me $20. He must have given me, $80, $100. And I just threw. At one point, the dealer starts saying, no. Now, for a dealer to tell you no when you're saying hit me or don't hit me, it's like, you're in trouble when the dealer's like, no. Anyway, so it was that bad. And I realized I can't count to 21. So hopefully you're entertained. There you go. So this does not apply to poker for me.
No.
No, but it sounds so much more complex.
When you get you illustrate a point as well where all these distractions and you can pick a metaphor in your life where these distractions will show up at work, they'll show up in your relationship, they'll show up in sport. And again, you don't do your best work when you're drinking and when you're like not focused on what you're doing. But again, like maintaining state is a superpower. And we spend a lot of like NHL pros, like they have sports psychologists, amateur scouts, all these people that are trying to groom professional athletes, minor hockey, prospects to keep these kids in state. Because if I watch the World Junior Hockey Championships, I always lose my shit when I see them retaliate. I'm just like, how good of a hockey player do you have to be at the World Juniors in the first place? You have to be an elite player. And if you can't realize that hockey is a physical sport because you've played it for 10 years at that point, and you don't realize those are part of the rules and that's what you sign up for. And you can't control your emotions when you have the crest of Team Canada or whatever team you're playing for on your jersey, representing your junior team, yourself, your family, all of that, your country, and you're still unable to control your emotions and it costs you. And this more comes back.
Yeah. Well, in this one, the question is, are they focused on the game? Or do they see this as a lot of pressure? The whole country is counting on them, so that can break a person. Second, They think if I show off here, I'm going to get a big contract. This is my chance. So their mind is on a nation loving or hating them. Their mind is on fortune and fame. And the people who perform well in a sport are the people who are focused on the sport. And so for them to be able to focus, that is a big job. I used to, at one point I didn't plan on it, but I started picking winners and losers in the UFC. And I could pick winner, round, and method. So I'd say third round knockout, second round choke or submission. And then I'd say this is going to the judges and it's going to this person. And I was right, some sick number, like 85% of the time. Like I could have made a fortune. And part of the equation was not just watching them, how they were carrying themselves, but if I knew anything about their life outside, and that's where I think I'm going to start on answering your question, how can a person build their wellness? If I found out that they had gone through a number of changes, they changed training camps, they went through a relationship breakup, anything like this, I'm like, that loses them a huge number of emotional intelligence points, because change shakes our confidence and our rational capacity. So we lose a lot of focus. We're not as centered. Whereas if I go through the same routine with the same camp, with the same relationships, and my life is good, I'm not getting in trouble, nothing bad's happening, and I show up, I'm in the zone, boom, now I'm a very dangerous person. And at those levels, they're talking about, it's milliseconds and millimeters, the difference between winning and losing. Yeah. And so if a person has any shakeup in their life, it's going to affect their performance. So one of the things I would say to everybody is carve out sufficient stability that you've got your stuff together. Now, it might start with, I can't control my life. Well, you can start somewhere. Can you control your bedroom? Can you make your bed? Can you have a routine of, every morning I drink this much water, I do these exercises, I do that. Just start mastering something. Start like really mastering anything. And as you master things, you start giving yourself kudos, emotional intelligence kudos. So when it comes to self-esteem, this is the foundation, self-esteem. And some people believe self-esteem is how much you value yourself, but that's an egoic question, and that's comparative, which means some people are more valuable than others, some people are less valuable, so I'm trying to climb the ladder. It's not the truth. Everyone is equally and infinitely valuable. That is not a question. We are all equally and infinitely valuable. It doesn't mean my performance or my paycheck is equal, but my intrinsic value as a human being is equally and infinitely valuable. Good. So let's get that out of the way. But the self-esteem that matters, the real question is, how do I feel about me? This is the big question. And the best way to feel great about yourself is make commitments to yourself and keep them. It's as simple as that. I'm going to make my bed, make your bed. I'm going to run 5K, run 5K. I'm going to eat my veggies, eat your veggies. If you can keep your word to yourself, you have the beginning of building an empire for yourself. And people without self-mastery are volatile and can easily be beaten. But a person who has self-mastery, the founder of Aikido, self-mastery is true mastery, he said. I can't remember his name. Plus, I would always struggle pronouncing it. But the secret is, can I say a little bit of a bad word and a bad phrase? Can I get away with that?
Yeah.
Here it is. And forgive me, everyone, if this sounds harsh to you, but don't be your own bitch. I'm serious. Don't let your weaker side say, I don't feel like it. No one gives a shit. Yeah. The question is, do you value you enough to do what it takes? So let me do it this way. So Chuck, if I was in trouble, like I'm here in Mexico, my apartment in Mexico, in this beautiful gated community, and if I called you and I said, Chuck, I'm in deep crap. I need money. I need help. I need you to fly down here. I need something. Here's the question. I want everyone to hear this question. Chuck, would you be willing to discomfort yourself for my betterment? Would you be willing to discomfort yourself? Would you be willing to give up some money or some comfort, some peace, some sleep? Would you suffer for me? Would you do that?
Well, I know you. So yes, if I have it in me to give, I do. Yes.
Yeah. Why? That's called love. My dear friend Chuck loves me.
Yeah.
And I love my dear friend Chuck. Don't get don't start, don't send emails. But if you're willing to discomfort yourself for me, why aren't you willing to discomfort yourself for yourself? See, self-discipline is self-love. I care about me too much to eat the crap. I care about me too much to stay up too late. I care about me too much. I matter to me, and I'm willing to be discomforted for my benefit. And that's discipline. Discipline is the birth of self-esteem, self-confidence, self-direction. And when you're a master of self, people don't mess with you. When they see you can master your mood, you can work harder, you can work smarter, you can find a way, you don't give up, you don't quit, you don't back down, you don't hide in a corner, shut up and stop. No, I'm going to keep coming because I decided to. And I'm not a victim of the weaker side of myself. Do not give in to your mood. Master self, and you've mastered life. That's the foundation. If you want self-esteem, make a promise to yourself and keep it. And keep doing that until you know you can command yourself to do anything. This is the foundation of life. Self-esteem, which is both created by and demonstrated by self-discipline.
I want to segue with that because like there's a quote that you had that I just love so much. I had to put it up there because it's just like what you said right
that's
now.
right.
I used to ask you this question. I'm like, James, like I just like people aren't doing what they say they're going to do. People aren't doing this, or they're not following through. And you're like, Chuck, I'm going to give you a really good piece of advice and listen up. Most people don't want to be better. Most people want to feel better. And I was just like, man, oh man, is that ever true? Because like, it's hard. It's like when you have coping mechanisms that go really deep, like it's hard to like say no to like what your coping mechanism is. I feel uncomfortable. I don't want to sit in the uncomfortable. Human beings are really bad at sitting in the uncomfortable and processing through that. We're really good at distractions. I'm going to go like drink this away, or sex this away, or internet this away, or sport this away. And I've learned that over the period of my lifetime. And again, it works until it doesn't. But then my coping mechanisms, which were once my strong suits, are now my weak points. And now I start to suffer. And I'm in a new pit of unknown of how did I get myself here? How do I get myself out of here? But I always want to return to feeling better. And there's a distinction between feeling better and being better. If I'm doing better, I will feel better. So I thought we could just speak a little bit to that.
Sure. Well, let's start with this. We all blow it. And one of the beginnings of the end for a person is to fail to forgive yourself. We all blow it. I blow it all the time. I blow it all the time. I blew it with you, and you forgave me, and I'll never forget that. I blow it all the time. I fail all the time. I have failed more than anyone I know. The difference is I went for more than anyone I know. And so when I blow it, when I don't have self-discipline, when I drink the wrong thing or eat the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, if I'm mean or cowardice or anything, that's done now. So now what are you going to do about it? Are you going to hold it against yourself and you're going to punish yourself forever so your entire life can suck instead of just last night? No. Cut out the wound, cut out the poison and say, okay, I did that. That sucks. So this is a major difference between the word guilt and the word shame. See, people should feel guilty and they should never feel shame. So guilty is your soul saying you're better than that. You're better than that. You're tougher than that. You're smarter than that. You're more disciplined than that. You're a better man than that. You're a better woman than that. You're kinder than that. You're more forgiving than that. Guilt screams you're better than that. And shame screams you're not better than that. Look how much you suck.
Yeah.
The shame is your ego using that moment to beat the crap out of you and incarcerate you forever and never let you succeed, never let you be happy, never let you be loved. Shame is people say, oh, guilt and shame, they're the same. They're so polar opposite. It's almost inconceivable that people use them interchangeably. Guilt is your soul saying you're better than that. You're better than that. You're better than that. And shame says, look how much you suck, and I'm going to punish you forever for it.
And you deserve it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you deserve it. So my strong suggestion is feel the guilt, forgive yourself, and stop it. Feel the guilt, forgive yourself, and stop it. Show yourself that you got the message and behave better. Now, maybe inch by inch, step by step, but it doesn't change the fact that you're better than that. And you know it because your soul told you so, because you felt guilty. When you feel guilty, it's a wake-up call from your soul. Listen to it, forgive yourself, and move on.
Yeah, I actually use this. I read this book 10 years ago called Power versus Force. And in this, he had the author, I think it's David R. Hawkins or David Hawkins or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Ken just put it up here on the screen. But
Yep.
you
Yep,
mentioned shame, humiliation, and guilt. And it turns out those are the platforms for addiction. And in the book, Hawkins said that humiliation is when somebody actually makes you feel less than. Shame is when someone makes you feel less than and you agree with them and you say, I deserve this. And trying to get out of that pit of despair is almost impossible at that level, which is why addiction leads to that. And where I saw this is whenever I'm in a moment of anxiety or guilt or shame or despair or hopelessness, I do my worst work from that work. Like if I haven't slept, if I haven't eaten, if nobody loves me, I do my worst work. And where I have to sit in that for a moment is catch the emotion and then say, who am I without the thought of this experience right now? And then I have to go to say, oh, I would be more trusting, or I'd be more neutral, or I would be more, courageous and take action, willingness, or forgive people, or whatever that is. And that elevates my state a little higher. Now I still have to, get there. But if I don't drop, like you said, forgive yourself, and I don't see where I am in that state chart first, and then drop that, and then say, okay, I can be up there. I will always sit in that low resignation energy, and that doesn't serve me, like you said. And I certainly can't get the energy that I need to do to go out and be an elephant hunter, and metaphorically speaking, of course, and not take on bigger things in life like you do. Like you tackle big things. And so, but that's the way that I elevate my state or shift my states of where I think I am, sitting in the discomfort, realizing, okay, everything passes, and then be able to elevate to something that's a little bit more neutral, because I can't just inauthentically say, okay, we'll just lift your emotions out. It doesn't work that way. I'm Irish Catholic. I grew up with that, so it doesn't work.
Well, I want to say that one of the things that people miss when they look at, so that's the energetic spectrum measured in hertz. And one of the things that people miss is a couple of things. Number one, every single word on that is a word that someone made up to label their interpretation in the application. The challenge is every single word on that chart in all of the categories are all words that people have various interpretations on. So people have to be gracious when they look at a chart like that and just say high vibration, low vibration, good mood, bad mood. And then all the labels are people's best shot at it. And one of the things I want to highlight is this. No great symphony exists without low notes. So to say the top stuff is good, the bottom stuff is bad, is passing judgment. Judgment is not our friend. So what I would strongly suggest people do is just say, there are times to be sad, there are times to celebrate, there are times to be shy, or to be to feel guilt, for an example. There's times for the low, there's times for the high, but the mosaic of life uses all colors, and the symphony of life has low notes. So to say, oh, that's bad, it's down there. No, it's just down there. It's not bad. That's like success and failure are dangerous labels, because what is failure? Failure doesn't exist. Failure is the label we give to undesirable or unexpected outcomes. It's not failure. It's undesirable or unexpected. So that's just results. It's all just results. I did this, I got that result. I did this, I get this result. I did this, I get that result. But to call it success and failure, or the high part of that chart good and lower part bad, well, that's just all judgment. It's all ego. Sometimes I'm feeling down here, sometimes I'm feeling up there. I do my best performance up there. How do I get myself there? But not to say I shouldn't be down there, because if you're down there, you're down there. So the releasing of the judgment on it, and just say, life has all kinds of notes. And sometimes I'm in a state where I just want to bawl my eyes out. Fine. you want to choose your moments, you want to do that publicly and so on. But but I want to honor the reality of where I'm vibing right now and respect that it might be valid, right? Someone passes away in your family. I'm too tough. Well, don't be like, if 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 that creates a feeling of great sorrow and quote unquote brokenness and sadness, well, feel it. Get good at sad.
Yeah.
If you get good at sad, you'll experience more glad. But if you try and fight the sadness, I don't want to feel it, well, then it's not going away because it's something to be experienced, to be released. Sadness is our toxicity removal machine. So when we're on a low vibration, it's not worse or bad. It's just low vibration. It is what it is. How do I best manage and get the fullness out of the mosaic of life and the low notes in the symphony? And so I think it's important to lighten up on the judgments related to this thing, because all judgment comes from the ego, and it's not our amigo.
And as you say, ego is not your amigo. Exactly. I love what you said about, the good or bad, because I have this thing where I've recently jumped into neutrality. I was watching the movie Charlie Murphy's War, or Charlie Wilson's War, with Tom Hanks and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Julia Roberts. And there's a great scene that I saw where Philip Seymour Hoffman's character was talking to Charlie Wilson, the congressman, and said, "Have you ever heard of the story about the Zen master?" And Charlie's just like, "No." He's just like, "Oh, there's this war going on." And everyone's just like, "Oh, how bad it is that the war is going on." The Zen master says, "We'll see." And then a little boy is born in this village, and they say, "Oh, a little boy's born in the village. How great." And the Zen master says, "We'll see." And as the kid grows up, he falls off a pony and breaks his leg. And everyone says, "Oh, it's really bad that this kid's leg broke." And the Zen master said, "We'll see." And as the war came, the kid didn't have to go to military service because his leg was bad. And everyone said, "Oh, how great it is that the kid doesn't have to go to war." And the Zen master said, "We'll see." So the neutrality of what that is, because in my brain, I see things going so much differently of how my ego wants them to go. And that's not how life works. And the more I can get to neutrality with, like, it's not good or bad, it's just good to know, or it's information, or it's neutrality, or something's coming down the road right now. And I'm really excited to see what that's going to happen, because, and this is the one thing that I think everybody can really relate to. We've all been in a loving, great, hopefully romantic relationship with people. And that was only made possible because we broke up with somebody. And yet whenever we break up with somebody, we're like, "Oh, woe is me. They cheated on me," or like, "They hate me," or "They took away this or that." And again, neutrality. I can't wait to see what's opening up for me right now, because if I wouldn't have left this person, I wouldn't have found my dream partner. And again, it's not trying to make it better. It just makes my state feel better in the moment, to lift that judgment, as you say, up, where I can now take myself out of the equation, let my ego, heal, go to neutrality, and say, anytime I missed a bus or a train, "Oh, I should have been on that train." Like, no, I can't wait right now to see what happens now, because that shifted. And now something amazing is going to show up. And the neutrality of that keeps my brain in state, keeps me doing my best work, and allows me to actually not be stuck and unaware and just upset and being a people repellent like I can be in life, and allows me to slip into that neutrality, saying, good or bad, who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. And we have this really, really bad habit of human beings thinking we know what's going to happen down the road. Like, we know all this is bad. What do you mean this is bad? This turns out to be something really great for you down the road, but you don't know that right now. And giving that up, it's just so you can actually sit in neutrality and be able to, like, be in a better state.
Amen to that. I have a mean way to remember this, but it's too funny for me. You'll never truly understand that life's rejections are God's protections until you go to a class reunion and see all the bullets you dodged.
Oh yeah.
It's like, woo!
Some of those
Thank you for saying no. Thank you for rejecting me.
Some of those people are saying that about me. Thank God I got away from that guy. That would have been.
Well, it's the non-resistant state of it is what it is, and now, and these are very important words in the Abrahamic tradition of let's call it the Jewish wisdom literature. There's a repetitive phrase And it's, well, I'll just summarize it to the two words, but God. And so what would happen is they sinned, but God. They attacked, but God. There was a drought, but God. This happened, but God. And it was the turning point of but God. Now, if you're not a theist, you may not dig that. But what you can do is you can simply say, it is what it is, and now, instead of but God. So it's like, this is where I am. I now have a fresh moment to choose my thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, my actions, my reactions, my perceptions, my beliefs, my disciplines, my learnings, and my friends. I have a whole new world starting right now. So up until now, one of the things I say to personal trainers, and they don't think it's funny, but I always think it's funny. Whenever I talk to a personal trainer, I say, I've been working on my before picture. Like, well, at any moment in life, you can say, I've been working on my before picture. Watch what happens now, right? It is what it is, and now. Sure, I blew it, but now. And so we have a fresh start any moment we choose to. And the non-resistance and the mastery of forgiveness gives us the ability to fresh start anywhere, anytime, and now. And that's a beautiful opportunity that we all get to enjoy.
Yeah, I love that. I'm really curious about what you're up to now, because I know you always have a project on the go. You always have coursework, you always have workshops, and I would be remiss if I didn't invite people to check out your website and see what you're working on and see how they can actually find you. If you like what you've heard from James right now, I promise you, like when you get into his network and his community, you will be met with the most amazingly high resonating people that are all committed to themselves learning and growing along the same journey as you are. But like, let's talk a little bit about what you're up to.
What I'm up to now, well, let's start with something that your viewers might like if they want to learn anything from me. What I'm up to now is I'm giving everything away. So what's happened is I've gone through this incredible journey of developing things and then figuring out what I'm supposed to do with them. So I was blessed with something called verbal Aikido, which made me the highest paid consultant of the world's most powerful banks. And to finish a bit about my story, I have no college, no university, no nothing. It was by the grace of God that I had abilities to learn from masters and listen. And at the beginning, I was listening to audio cassettes. Some of you are too old to know what that means. It's like an iPod, but different. And so I would listen to them, and I would burn out these audio cassettes just listening to these great minds. And my audio retention is very high because I couldn't read as a child. So I mastered the ability to remember audio. So I started learning and learning and learning and learning and learning. And then I didn't plan on it. I ended up kind of being pushed onto a stage to answer questions at a training somewhere. And then it just seemed like, my goodness, I've got this gift. But I kept learning and learning and learning and putting things together. And because I struggled as a child with communications, I didn't know how to get along with anyone. I didn't know how to build rapport. I didn't know how to manage my emotions. By the grace of God and a lot of training, I created something called verbal Aikido. And it made me the highest paid consultant of the world's most powerful banks, and also brought me into the playground where I got to train international law enforcement agencies on de-escalation, how to manage the most extreme situations and save lives. And I've been told, if it wasn't for my work, there would have been several race riots that have not occurred because people were able to find that sliver of breathing room and not pull triggers and things like that. So I've been blessed with the ability to understand things, the ability to pass them on. So verbal Aikido is this huge thing that the whole world, frankly, needs desperately. Then I was provoked to move on to spiritual intelligence. I'm a fully committed Christ follower. I'm one of those Christians. Don't hold that against me. I won't take up an offering. But what I found was if I tried to talk about spirituality, people would get offended, like, oh, shut up, who are you? And all that. And I thought, why are people so mad at me? I'm not trying to whatever. And then I found out that Christianity, and forgive me if you're a Christian, but Christianity has a bit of a bad reputation of, talking down to people and judging and hate mongering and whatever. And I'm not saying that's true Christianity. I'm just saying it's got a bad rep. So then I thought, I want to be a Christian that doesn't suck. And if I can do that, maybe that'll help, to open up the door. And then that just gave birth to a whole line of wanting to learn to talk about spirituality in a way that would work. So I created something called Pure Spiritual Intelligence, a metaphysical success philosophy. And hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people around the world have been touched by it in the last few years, since just before COVID hit. And we have ongoing communities that meet every single day. People have paid thousands of dollars for it, and now you can join us for free. You can just come for free. And I just started this May 1st. So how do you like them apples? So I'm until further notice, everything I do is free. So I've got online courses. They're $1,000 each on pure spiritual intelligence, verbal Aikido for entrepreneurs. I've got how to be a motivational speaker, I've got pure selling, how to be a closer. What's it called? Power presenter, something like that. I've got an online course. It's $1,000 course on how to rock the stage. And I'm now making them all available for free. And the reason is that I've taken on the biggest challenge of my life, and it's called Humanity 2.0. So so I'm going to have to be off a leash for a little bit, Chuck, to try and get through an explanation of what it is. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
So I've noticed, and you probably have too, that we as a society are distracted. We're divided. We're deluded. We are desperate. We are depressed. We are drugged. We are demoralized. We are a species ready to be taken over. We're basically ready for anything to happen and we're finished. The planet is in big trouble. When COVID started, we were already moving in this direction. It's a long story, which now I've done the research on, how humanity went from evolving and then starting around 150 years ago to begin the devolving. And we're in a very desperate state right now. So before COVID, when COVID started and we were all locked down in Canada, I was like, this is very dangerous. Like, if you wanted people to be healthy, you wouldn't do what you're doing. Like the lockdowns were like mysterious because they're anti-good health. And at the time I was dating a naturopathic doctor, and she was given warnings every day, like emergency meetings. And what they were being told is, if you tell anyone how to enhance their immune system, you'll be stripped of your license immediately. You're not allowed to teach anyone how to enhance their immune system. And I'm like, this is all sick. There's something wrong. And I've always been trust authority, respect authority, do what they say. My dad was a cop. Yes or no, sir. 3 bags full, sir. Whatever you say, sir. And I really was I was not a person questioning the government or anything. But that began, a question of what's going on here. And then it just got worse and worse and worse until I realized we're in bad shape here. And we're the greatest of all creation. We are the divine spark. Elon Musk says we're the flickering light in the universe and we should protect it. And I agree with that. So human consciousness is a pretty big deal, and it might only be 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Now, for those of you who are like, hey, are you one of those evolutionists? I'm a creationist or whatever it is. I'm not actually bent on that stuff. I would just say this. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. The Homo sapien structure of the physical human being is 200,000 years old, but human history is only 6,000 years old, which would suggest human consciousness, the divine spark that makes us so absolutely special, may have the onset of that may have been 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. So we're a young species in that way. And 150 years ago, we didn't have running water or electricity. Like that's how far we've come in 150 years. That's,
Massive.
Your grandma's parents, were around. And so when we have fast tracked in the last 150 years into this insane pace of technology and so on, some things got left behind. And so we've lost everything natural and everything healthy. So let me do it this way. How did we get so broken if we're so special? So here's a metaphor. I want you to imagine, let me just follow this. Would you agree, Chuck, that the fact, would you not agree that the fact is the safest place in the world for a wild animal is inside of a zoo? Because we create the perfect environment for them with the right rocks and the right plants and the right running water, the right temperature, air conditioning or heating so they don't run the risk of actual climate. Then we have a nutritionist create their food. Oh, even before that, we put a fence around them so predators can't get at them, so they don't even have to worry about any attacks. Then we have a nutritionist create their diet so they have exactly what they should. And then it's handed to them on a daily basis at the right time on schedule so they don't have to run the risk of plagues in the area or famine. They don't have to worry about getting hurt on the hunt or capturing, killing and eating a diseased animal. They're safe from all of that, and they get 24/7 medical treatment. Would you not agree that with the fact that the safest place in the world for a wild animal is a zoo?
Yeah, until you let them out of that environment and they die.
Well, no, you don't even have to let them out of that environment. They die there. They have something called zoochosis. So the fact is, it's the safest place in the world, but no one is dumb enough to believe that that's living. It's not living. They're trapped. They're incarcerated. It's fake. It's not real. And they suffer from something called zoochosis. They are disengaged. They are depressed. They're passive aggressive. They don't want to eat. They don't even want to mate. You're like, well, send them in hot tigers for the lion. Yeah, hey, here's a hottie. They don't want to procreate. They have to be forced to procreate. Even their procreation drive is gone. They're not alive. And that's the same as us right now. We are not alive. Humanity has lost the spark. People are scared. People are scared to start businesses. People are scared to have a difficult conversation. They're scared to talk to people who disagree with them. They're scared of everything. People are petrified. They don't believe the news. They don't trust the government. We're not breathing clean air. We're not breathing real air. We're not drinking real water. We're not eating real food. It's like we are in the human zoo of our own creation. Now, we can blame the zookeeper, but they sold us a lie called freedom without responsibility. And as soon as humanity started saying to government and to businesses, please take away all the responsibility. Give me a pill instead of a workout gym. Give me a secret drink instead of a treadmill. I'm going to pay the government. You take care of my cousin who's sick, so I don't have to be a good family member. You raise my kids. You tell us, hey, I've got an idea. Let's create this Food and Drug Administration, and you'll take care of us. And we delegated all responsibility to others, and it turns out they're not always trustworthy. And now we find ourselves in a human zoo, and I think it's desperately important for humans to wake up, to heal up, to grow up, and to show up, to steal some words from Jamie Wheel in his recent book, Recapture the Rapture. It is an absolutely urgent cry for humanity to be human again and to have normal, natural relationships. If you're educated and if you're doing well financially, the chances of you having any children is slim to none. The chances of you even getting married is slim to none. We've lost our natural family drive, our natural procreation drive. We've lost our natural relationship drive. There's almost nothing natural about humanity right now. We stopped evolving about 150 years ago-ish, and since then, the advancements are all external in technologies and systems and processes and drugs. But as a species, we've devolved. And so I've got a 10-prong effort to kickstart humanity. And until I've got some of the other pieces organized, I'm giving away all my content.
That was certainly a really informative answer of where I was going to go with, and you just took that to a whole nother level. But
you asked, man.
But you said something that, honestly, I've been thinking this and I'm just going to kind of segue a little bit of this, and I'll circle back with this. But I really believe that if I was ever, one of my bucket list things to do is to see the pyramids. I want to sit in front of that amazing proof that technology, because if you had to do that right now, that would be a really engineering disaster or a marvel.
Well, they say they can't do it.
They can't.
They can't.
And it's probably whatever 5,000-6,000 years old as it is right now that we know of, right? And I'm thinking to myself, just what you're saying about humanity, where we're at right now in this state of despair. There has to have been a time where that technology was so amazing that they could create that, because the proof is there. We can see the remnants of what they created with before they had a wheel or mallet or hammer or whatever that is. And there has to be some sort of ingenious part of society or culture that was just eliminated, and we started over from zero. And I really feel with what you're saying, or even right now, that we're on that path of that right now, of self-destructing, of having this amazing technology and having no connection, having all the resources in the world and having no attention span, having all these resources that you can do whatever you want to do, but not have any motivation to do it because you don't feel well, whether it be the food or the water or exercise or whatever it is, or we're drugged down. But it just stops people from taking action. It's terrifying. But to me at the same time, is how do I get to the point where right now where I say enough is enough, and I go to Humanity 2.0 and I jump on your site and I say How do I start?
Sure. Well, I think let's start with something that people underestimate. Have meals with people.
Mm.
Now, people have so lost the value in that. The bond between mother and child is uniquely profound because of breastfeeding. And what's in the wiring of humanity is when we dine together, we bind together. And to have dinner together and have conversations like you and I are right now, like this is the kind of thing everyone should be doing every day. Sit with people and talk about ideas, not just trash famous people or whine, bitch, moan, complain, or tell people what you want and you don't have. Discuss ideas, talk about each other's day, like really listen to understand and to care and have real conversations around meals. You might not know it, but that will change the world. Just people being human again. If at all possible, try and drink real clean water without all the stuff in it. See if you can't get some clean air. See if you can't eat some real food without all the chemicals and all the drugs and all the stuff. Like real food, real water, real air, real relationships, and real conversations with real people over real food will change the world. Now you think, oh, that's too easy. Well, you asked, and that's the truth. That would be one of the places. And then we want to move away from need and greed. These are both egoic. So a very, very healthy position to move towards is I need nothing. I need no one. I love and treasure everything. I love and treasure everyone. So relationships are essential for good health. So I don't mean it in we don't need sociologically, psychologically, because we do need relationships, but I don't need that person to like me. I don't need that person to right. So we need genuine relationships, but not specific relationships. So it is essential that we stop being needy and greedy. And the moment you're not needy and greedy, you're no longer feeding the machine, no longer feeding the matrix. And to come to a calm, confident peace in who I am, where I am, what I'm doing, the relationships I have. And I ask myself not what will make me feel better, but how can I best bring love into this moment? How can I best be a good person today? So it all sounds too simple, and I've got like 30 days of training and content in my site, so there's lots more to learn. But the truth is, get well, get healthy, get happy. Know this: no one is responsible for your wellness or your happiness. I mean, if you're under 5 years old, sure, but after once you're over 5 years old, own your stuff. Your responsibility is your wellness. Your responsibility is your happiness. No one can make you happy. That's a self job. So these are the kinds of things that begin to rebuild humanity, one person and one home, one community at a time.
I think you said something like 10 years ago that still resonates with me. I use it every day. But I'd be remiss if I didn't actually bring this up as well, because it's one of your treasures in my book. And it's hurrah. So like, you said it, I just changed the syntax of it, but it stands for heard, understood, respected, and accepted. And this is just a great spot where you and I can agree to disagree on anything. I hear what you have to say. I understand that's your point of view. I respect your ability to have that point of view, even if it differs from mine, especially if it differs from mine. And I accept that's your point of view without trying to fix it or change it or manipulate you for it or like make you wrong for it or, make my way the right way. And it literally leaves zero pushback on that, because if the person is left feeling heard, understood, respected, and accepted, they have nothing to come back at you with, because they feel, however, if one of these things are missing, it's the same as all four of those missing, because each one of them is a human disconnect. If I hear what you're saying, I understand that's your point of view, I respect your ability to have that, but I don't accept you or don't accept your point of view, then you're feeling unaccepted, and that's a human disconnect. And I just thought that was genius as well, and I wanted to ask you to expand a little further on that for people, where hurrah could save the world.
Well, it definitely is one of the central themes, and thank you. I'm honored that you captured that and you keep it alive in your life on a regular basis, and you've told me this on many occasions. It's one of those things where we don't actually need people to agree with us.
Yeah.
And they don't need you to agree with them. You might think so, and they might think so, but it's not true. I had a funny moment with my brother, and I'm not telling the story to in any way say anything negative, but we had a funny moment. We were in Vegas. We went to Las Vegas to watch the UFC and meet the fighters and so on. And we met Mark. No, first we met. I'm looking at his face. So Mark Coleman fought Couture, Randy Couture. So we met Randy Couture and GSP, Georges St. Pierre, at a signing. And my brother says, because Randy Couture was fighting Mark Coleman, that weekend or very soon. And my brother said to Randy Couture, I hope you win, right? And I don't know what I said. Nice to meet you, honored, whatever. I'm a big fan, appreciate you. But my brother said, I hope you win. And then we went back to the resort, the hotel we were staying at, and there's Mark Coleman. So we meet Mark Coleman, and we're chatting, and again, very happy to meet him. And my brother said the same thing to Mark Coleman. He says, I hope you win. I thought, well, who are you lying to? You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Who are you lying to? You do understand how this game is played, right? So then as we walked away, I said, well, why did you say that? He says, well, what else am I going to say? And I thought, this is a feeling that people have. I have to agree or disagree. I have to cheer for you, or I have to. And I don't mean to challenge my brother's perspective, but he felt obligated to say, I hope you win. And that's not, I don't feel we have to agree or disagree or want everyone to win or whatever. It's not essential that people agree with me. I don't need that. It's not essential that I agree with you, because you don't need that.
Yeah.
But for our psychological wellness, it's very important that we feel heard, that we feel understood, that we feel respected, and that we feel accepted. And after that, we can deal with anything.
Yeah.
So you and I, on a fairly regular basis, we'll have conversations where it's like, Chuck, what is that? And we go back and forth. And
guilty.
But we have a conversation, right? And we don't have to agree. We can have genuine respect and both benefit from the conversation, whether it changes our perspective completely or a decision on anything. That's not the primary. But when people feel heard, understood, respected, and accepted, we're good.
Yeah. We
can live with that. Now, some people need you to agree because it's a lineup for a manipulation. Like, would you agree that the color red is the better color? And if you don't say yes, then they can't sell you the red thing. So they're demanding compliance because compliance is a setup for a manipulation. But other than that, people don't need you to agree.
And I have this great thing in my own life right now where I say, I don't need the validation unless my ego thinks I need the validation. I really welcome the fact that you say, I hope you win, but like your belief system doesn't rule my life. So it's really not a controllable for me. My controllable is my belief system. I hope I win. It's nice that you give me some accolades, or it's nice that you send me nice energy, or if you send me negative energy, but my belief system doesn't require your validation. And that's a powerful place for me to sit in now, that I come down to that. And again, the caveat in hurrah is like, without trying to fix, without trying to manipulate, without trying to shame, blame, whatever, you can sit in that. And again, you brought up, like you and I have conversations. I love it when you reach out to me and say, hey, can we have a chat about this? I think everybody in the world knows like my disdain for Donald Trump. And, you and I've had some wonderful conversations where I'm just like, listen, I'm stuck in the moment right now. And I need another insight that's not my opinion, because my opinion is broken. It's not working. And I know it's not working. And I need to get out of this. I need another perspective from someone like I trust. And I know your intention is always safe with me. So when I reach out to you, you reach out to me, I can say, hey, I can put my own junk at home right now. I'll always have it. And if I want to in shoes, I can go back and grab it, but I know it doesn't work. It's a dead end. I need a different view of this. And then you will share something. And I'm like, you know what? That's a damn good point. It's taken me years to be able to get to that point where I allow myself, someone like you, to come into my life that I just say, no, who does that guy think he is? Because old Chucky wants to come up and run the show, but old Chucky like ruins relationships. And then it's about,
well, the thing is, you issue me so much respect to allow me to speak my perspective. You know what I mean? Like that's huge.
Yeah.
Like no one can have those kinds of conversations alone. It takes two people who feel sufficiently safe and sufficiently motivated to go through the tunnel of terror with the hope of a bright light on the other end. And so, yeah, I'm honored by those.
Yeah. And again, like when you come to the point where you share something, I'm a better person afterwards for hearing it. And I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, it's kind of being a bit of a dick back there. Yeah, I deserve that. You know what? And it's just like, I don't know if you've ever seen Bill Burr, you know, on the stage, the comedian.
I love him.
Like he's talking about guys like sometimes you just need a good punch in the face. You know, because like I'm sitting there as I'm driving down the road and my eyes are clouding up, and I'm like, you know, I kind of deserve that because I won't do that again because that guy punched me in the face. I was being a bit of a dick back there, you know, like, and it's true because like sometimes I get to that point where I'm being a people repellent, and again, that serves nobody. And I'm going to segue this because I haven't told you this, but 2 weeks ago, I'm on day 15 right now of not making a post on Donald Trump. I gave that up 15 days ago.
Who's a big boy now?
Yeah, I know. Who's like living the dream? just living the dream, baby. You know, just
you didn't throw shit at Donald Trump for 15 days. That's
straight.
Very impressive.
Since 2015, I've lost relationships and peoples and friends and families and over this Donald Trump character. And I just realized, like, why am I doing this? You know, it's just almost like where you had the tail end of your alcoholism or your drug addiction or your food addiction. And you hit the rock bottom. You're sitting there like, how the hell did I get here? I used to be living the dream. I used to have a rocking body. You know, it's just like, and now I'm responsible for me being here. And then my Chucky doll says, how the hell did you let us get to this point? Right. And I'm like, what's the win for me? And this is the unpacking part. This is where I actually had to have a conversation with someone like yourself. And my friend says, what's the win for you? And like everyone who knows you on Facebook or whatever knows your opinion on Donald Trump. Are you changing anybody's minds? I'm like, no, I'm not changing anybody's mind. I'm clear on that. So why are you doing this? And I'm like, that's a damn good question. Like, let me unpack that for a second because my ego wants to respond right away, right? And I know that response will be wrong. So let me really go into that spot and think, you know, where is this coming from? And it's just it's righteousness. You know, the answer is I want to be a righteous prick. You know, and I know that this is going to come down the curve, just like I did the same thing with Lance Armstrong. 5 years before he was dirty, I said he was dirty. And he never pissed dirty his entire life until he had to come out with a confession to Oprah on her show that he was dirty. But if you can spot these things of like how energy can be attained but not maintained, you can be ahead of the curve of seeing this is going to go down. And the righteousness in me wants to see, you'll be right when this comes down. And then you get to say, I told you so. Just like I did with Lance Armstrong, and nobody ever cared. Like Lance Armstrong came out and I thought, okay, here's where I get all my accolades. Here's where it says, oh, Chuck, you were right. How did you do that?
They're going to have Chuck parties and parades.
Oh, and it was amazing. In my head, I saw these great Gatsby parties of Chuck is right. Like,
and everyone does this.
Yeah. And nobody but me showed up to that, James. Like nobody, but because they all went on to like the next thing. Because like nobody gives a shit. And then I thought to myself, you know what? That's my Donald Trump party. So like, even if he gets convicted, no statues for critics. No. And again, like nobody gives a shit because they're all dealing with the stuff in their life that is really significant to them. And Donald Trump doesn't matter. Like Trudeau doesn't matter. Like their parents matter, or their kids matter, or their job matters. And all the distractions that I'm just giving all this energy to has just now pissed away 8 years of my energy.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Yay, me.
You get some kind of a coin at some point, right? You
coin. You know, you go to AA, you get your 30-day pin, and you know, like in 2 more
we got to start sending you pins and coins and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So well, listen, we should probably wrap this up as well because we're going into a little bit more overtime, but it's always great to talk with you as well. Before I let you go, I just want to see what you're up to as well, where people can find you, where they can get more of your content. It's amazing that you're giving this away, but your timing is perfect because this is actually the off season right now in 2024. We're shooting this in May, and so the summer season I find for kids for wanting to show up at training camp in September, being the best version of themselves. I highly recommend that you go into James' website, which we'll put the banner up here as well, and you can go down to the jamesmcneil.com and be able to go get his content on Instagram or on his website at jamesmcneil.com and then dive in. And again, like he's giving this away for free. This is worth millions of dollars, it's like millions, and 50 years of James failing again and again and coming back and refining his content. So that way your kid, your child, your parent, whoever you love in your life can now have kindness, be able to come into a safe place to learn something, to fail at it, to harden, to callous, to be able to create something out of love as opposed to out of fear mongering or out of anger or out of trauma, which we all know don't work. And the fact that the kids that we're going to be working with in the Owen Sound attack area here, the PWHL teams that we're going to be working with, the National Hockey League teams that we're able to work with, now get your content up front is a real game changer.
Thank you, man. I just, anyone watching, and if you're a hockey player, I want you to know that I have no hockey content in there. I haven't talked about hockey for a long time, but I do want you to know that everything applies to everything, right? The more you master yourself, your communications, your emotional intelligence, the more you master yourself through discipline, self-control. You know, with self-control, it's distinct from self-discipline. Self-discipline is being able to give yourself a command and obey it, whereas self-control is resisting the temptations.
Yes.
So Chuck might be tempted to say something about Donald Trump, but he resists the temptation. And so you might be resisting temptations of laziness or bad diet choices or bad behavior, you know, the wrong people to hang around with. But it's the resisting the temptation, whether it's fight or flight temptation, either way, it's resisting that temptation. It's almost like the brakes of I can control me in that way. And then discipline is I can get myself to do whether I feel like it or not, do the right thing. So I'm able to stop myself from doing the lesser and make myself do the greater. And to develop these sets you up for life. And in my world, there's of course the communications training, the spiritual intelligence training. Every day we do host a thing live. I'm there live at 7 a.m. Eastern time for something called the 30-Day Miracle Challenge. And so I think the best way to do, because we haven't set up our systems yet, is to go to the jamesmcneil.com and just put into the go to contact and then send us a message of what you're interested in, because there's no automatic button set up yet. We will be launching the Humanity 2.0 website. It will be wearehumanity2.org, and that'll be coming up soon. But until it is there, just go to jamesmcneil.com, and if there's any way I can be of service, I look forward to doing so. And thank you, Chuck. This has been great fun.
Yeah, and I honestly, you know, I'm always happy to have the conversation with you as well. I want to give you your acknowledgement as well, because like you mentioned a little earlier on that you were always listening to audio tapes and whatnot. I think this is such a fantastic story, so I'm just going to share it. When I first met you as well, like I just was instantly drawn to your energy, your kindness, your compassion, your ability to want to make a change and difference in people's lives. And like I couldn't get a minute of time with you, just to, like I wanted just to encapsulate everything that you said. But everybody else was always around you because you just draw this energy of people like just loving your content. But one of the things that you shared was, you know, your love for Les Brown, and you know, like for you being a desolate person coming out of, you know, trauma, being homeless, you know, having a terrible childhood, coming out, listening to these tapes, and then to share the stage. And we have some clips here as well that we're just going to pull up with you guys.
To be a co-author, that's like,
how cool is that? So I mean, like I want to give you your kudos, your acknowledgement for like just sitting in that work and never giving up. And so many people now get their lives back in their hands or get loved ones back in their family because of your content. the fact that you're able to sit with that and be able to push through it and then create this love for people and give it away. Like that just blows my mind. But, to share the stage with your idol, not idol, I mean, like your mentor in life that you share the stage with Les Brown is a really cool story that I thought I'd just share with everyone right now. That these things are possible if you're willing to do the work. And there he is right there.
That was just that was less than a year ago. We were in Scottsdale. Yeah. At a big event.
And this really is a big deal. I mean, like if you look at, imagine sharing the stage with someone that you grew up listening to and mentoring, whether it be a hockey player or a spiritual leader or a teacher or whoever it is in your life. And this is it for you.
Yeah. He's the king. He's the greatest motivational speaker of our time. And he's been doing this a long time. And I don't know if do you know the story about South Africa and the media and the medal? So we're in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I don't know how many countries we had shared the stage in, but this is the first time he heard my story, that he raised me with the audio cassettes. And I said, so you're kind of like my dad. And then it was like, he was like, yeah, but I'm not your dad, right? That kind of stuff. We were joking. And then we started joking, and then we did a little video, and the media were around us. We're backstage at this big event, and the media, local news agency, said, we want to interview you two. So we started doing these interviews for the media all over South Africa. And in 1 week, we had really had an impact, so much so that at the end of that week, Les Brown, the world's greatest motivational speaker, and I were awarded Nelson Mandela Medals of Peace for the impact we had on the country. And I'm just like, how did I get here? This guy who wasn't supposed to make it, to have euphoric moments like that was such an honor. So that was a pretty big deal. One of many big deals that I've had the honor of enjoying.
That's amazing.
So thank you.
Yeah. And honestly, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. This will be one of many shows that we'll be able to carry, but just to introduce people who haven't met you before and didn't know your work. And hopefully now we can share this as well. And sharing is caring. So we'll have you back on the show as well, but thanks for coming on this video.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Blessings to you and blessings to your audience. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. Thank you to James MacNeil for coming on the show. He's like one of my most special people in the entire world. I just can't say enough things about him as well. So I will bring up Cam LaRock, our producer, and just always have this little spot where I say, Cameron, what did you learn? What are your takeaways?
We could have another hour and a half just talking about my takeaways, I think. But yeah, Chuck, I don't really know what to say. Maybe a little bit. I've been sitting here and I said it would happen. I got distracted at times. I was forgetting to do my jobs, but I think out of all that, we're almost at an hour and a half here. I remember looking at the time in the corner and it was 48 minutes and I thought it was about 10 minutes in. It was just unbelievable how fast that went for me back here and how much I just took in.
Give me one takeaway that you take away right now that you're a better person for meeting James MacNeil right now.
After all said and done, I think the biggest takeaway would just be the importance of self-care and your own well-being and taking being fair to yourself, whether it's taking care of your mental health or physical health, or even just stuff like making your lunch the night before so you don't have to do it in the morning. Little things like that before you can be successful with anything, you have to start with yourself. Is kind of what's kind of running around in here right now.
Good one. So, there's a point that a friend of mine made. He got up in front of the class and he asked, hey, who can do 100 push-ups here? And, I put my hand up and, one of 2 or 3 people could do, because 100 push-ups is a lot. And then somebody said 100 in a row. And he's like, good question. Good clarification. And then he said, no, just 100 in a day. And then more people's hands went up. And he said, well, what happens if I could tell you that you could all do 100 push-ups today? And then there's some people that were obese and I got frozen shoulders, so I probably couldn't do that. And he's just like, he goes to a wall. He said, this is a push-up. Everybody can do this. If you start right there and you start today, you will do 100 push-ups in 30 days, like conventional push-ups, whatever it calls conventional. But if you don't start where you're able to start, you won't start and nothing will change.
Yeah.
So it's really about making the game easier and winnable for you. Where does that start? And for some people, it starts with wall push-ups. And some people, it starts with like just jumping on James's site and saying, hey, I'm just going to have a look and see what this is. I'm not going to make any decisions. I don't have this. I don't have that. But I'm able to now take a look at something and start from that point there. And I think if people would do that first, you will start your process of getting to where you want to be slowly, but it's better than not starting at all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So I want to thank James for coming on the show today, because obviously he's got so much content. We've gone an hour and a half right now. This is by far our longest podcast. We usually try to keep it to about an hour, but I couldn't stop with this because this is just too much good content. Please go to James' website, jamesmcneil.com. I'll leave the link up here as well. We'll put this in the YouTube channels as well for you to go over there. Start with something that you feel comfortable with. And again, I want to thank our sponsors, Padskins, for being able to facilitate this as well. I love the fact that Padskins wants to help people, feel better. As James said, like if you feel better, you'll play better, you'll do better. And it starts with that state of mind. I want to thank Holy Chuck Burgers and always as well, Maxwell Clothiers and Mixed Chicks for putting on the hair. Got to look good, because if you don't look good, you can't play good, right? You can't be good. That's what it is. So I want to thank you for taking the time today for an hour and a half sitting with us with James MacNeil. We'll have James back on the show as well. So if you'd like to hear, feel free to come back again, and hopefully we'll have more content for you as well. But above all that, if you can share, please share. Sharing is caring. And if you can do that, you'll make a difference, mostly more than you'll ever know. That ripple effect will always keep going on. And that's just being a good human. Thanks for coming by. Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo. We'll see you next time.